Today we're diving into project scope management. You know, it's one of those things that sounds a little dry, but it is absolutely critical. It's the one process that makes sure a project includes all the work it's supposed to, and, just as importantly, only the work it's supposed to get the job done right.
I mean, think about it. We've all been there, right? A project kicks off with this super clear goal, but then little things start getting added. Deadlines begin to slip. The budget starts to look a little stretched. And suddenly, that simple mobile app you were building is now also supposed to brew coffee and walk your dog. That feeling of complete chaos? Well, it has a name.
Meet scope creep, the silent killer of projects. It's this slow, sneaky expansion of tasks and features that happens when a project's boundaries aren't clearly defined and, frankly, fiercely protected. And let me tell you, it is the #1 reason that even the most promising projects completely fall apart.
But don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. There's a hero in this story. There's a whole set of practices designed specifically to fight back against scope creep and keep our projects right on track.
Project scope management. I know, it sounds super corporate, doesn't it? But this isn't just business jargon. It's a discipline. It's all about being incredibly deliberate and clear, defining exactly what we are setting out to do, and then protecting that definition from start to finish.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. There isn't just one way to do this. We can actually think of it as two totally different mindsets, two competing philosophies for managing scope. I like to call them the architect and the explorer.
First up, we have the architect. This is your classic traditional approach, and it's built on a foundation of predictability and control. The architect believes that success comes from meticulous, detailed, upfront planning, creating a perfect, ironclad blueprint before a single brick is ever laid. And then you have the explorer. This is the heart of the Agile approach. Now, the explorer knows exactly where they want to end up. The destination is crystal clear, but they totally embrace the idea that the best path to get there might not be known from the start. They are ready and willing to adapt, to learn, and to change course as they go. So, how do these two completely different philosophies actually play out in the real world? We're about to walk through the core processes step by step to see how each one works. But to do that, we need to get super clear on what scope actually is, because it's probably not what you think. Okay, so imagine a customer comes to you with these needs. These are requirements, right? They're describing a problem or a desire, but they aren't describing the solution. And they are definitely not the project scope. So what's a great solution here? A bicycle. It totally addresses all those needs. It's faster than walking, it's great exercise, and you can make it safe. This bicycle is the product. But even this isn't the project's scope. And here's the crucial point. The project scope is the specific work we're going to do. It's not just get the bike, it's also adding the helmet and reflectors and providing some training. It's that all the work and only the work part we talked about. Getting this distinction right is everything. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Planning. The architect needs certainty, so they create a very formal scope management plan. Think of it as the project's constitution, a static, rigid rulebook. The explorer, on the other hand, starts with a high-level product vision and a really flexible roadmap. It's more of a guide for the journey, not a set of legal instructions. Next up, how do they figure out what to build? Well, the architect is exhaustive. They're doing formal interviews and sending out surveys to create this massive, super detailed requirements document. The explorer prefers ongoing conversations, capturing needs as simple user stories. As a user, I want this, so that I can do that. All these stories live in a prioritized, ever-changing to-do list called the Product Backlog. So how does the explorer manage this constant flood of new ideas? A really popular way is something called Moscow prioritization. It's a dead simple way to categorize every single feature request. Is it a must-have for this release, a should-have, maybe a could-have, or, just as importantly, a won't-have for now? This keeps the team laser-focused on delivering what's most valuable first.
Now it's time to define what's actually getting built. The architect drafts a formal project scope statement, and this thing is basically a detailed contract that outlines everything that will be delivered. The explorer takes a totally different path. They define the absolute smallest possible version of the product that can still deliver real value to a user.
And that's called the minimum viable product, or MVP. See, the goal isn't to build everything all at once. The goal is to build just enough to get it into the hands of real users so the team can learn from their feedback and adapt. It's all about learning, not just building blindly. Now we have to actually organize the tasks. The architect and the explorer both believe in breaking big problems down into smaller pieces, but you guessed it, they do it very differently. The architect uses what's called a work breakdown structure, while the explorer uses backlog decomposition. And this just perfectly illustrates the architect's mindset. The work breakdown structure is a strict hierarchy. You start with the entire project, you break it down into major deliverables, then sub-deliverables, all the way down to these individual work packages. It's organized, it's logical, it's totally top-down.
The explorer's backlog, though, is structured around value. You start with big ideas, called epics. Those get broken into features, which are then described as user stories from the customer's point of view, and finally broken down into technical tasks. It's a much more fluid, value-driven kind of map.
So, the plan is made, the work is broken down, but what happens once the project is actually underway? How do we make sure we're building the right thing? And what in the world do we do when things inevitably change?
Well, how do they validate the work? The architect relies on formal sign-offs, inspections, and reviews to prove that a deliverable matches the original blueprint. The explorer, however, validates work continuously. At the end of every short work cycle or sprint, they hold a sprint review to demonstrate working software to stakeholders and get that immediate real-time feedback.
And this right here, this brings us to the most fundamental difference of all. When a change request comes in, the architect sees it as a threat to the plan. They use a formal change control process to analyze its impact and, often, to prevent it. The explorer, however, sees change as an opportunity. They welcome it, add the new idea to the backlog, and then reprioritize to make sure they are always working on the most valuable thing.
So, which one is better? The truth is, neither is. They are just different tools for different jobs. The architect's approach is perfect for projects where the requirements are well understood and unlikely to change, like, say, building a bridge. The explorer's approach thrives in environments full of uncertainty and innovation, like developing a brand new software product.
The key takeaway is to understand the nature of your project and then choose your approach wisely. So for your next big endeavor, ask yourself, is this a journey that needs a perfect blueprint, or is it an exploration where the path is discovered along the way? The answer will define your road to success.